Imagine walking through a world where the very air tastes of ash, and every footstep could be your last. Beat. Cormac McCarthy's The Road invites us into that nightmare and dares us to find a heartbeat of hope within the ruins. A ravaged world, Beat. The novel opens on a landscape burned to cinders, a nameless country choked by grey skies and drifting flakes of soot. Trees stand like blackened bones, rivers carry the taste of rust, and the sun itself feels sickly and distant. Beat. In this setting, time is no longer marked by calendars, but by the rumble of distant storms and the crunch of dead leaves underfoot. Beat. The world we once knew, cities, nations, even seasons, has collapsed into a single grim present tense. It is the stage on which McCarthy paints the cost of annihilation and forces us to confront the fragile line between civilization and oblivion. Beat. As we follow a man and his young son pushing an old shopping cart southward for warmth, every landmark becomes a memory of what was lost. Abandoned gasoline stations, looted supermarkets, collapsing overpasses. Beat. The author's sparse prose captures the desolation. Sentences stripped to bone, dialogue reduced to whispers. Beat. Yet in the midst of that bleakness, McCarthy's language achieves a harsh beauty, reminding us that even in ruin, art can illuminate. Beat. This first section grounds listeners in the crucial tension of the book, between environmental devastation and the thin ember of life that stubbornly burns. Beat. We witness how the father teaches the boy to stay invisible, to keep moving, to never build fires bright enough to be seen. Everything is weaponized. A flare gun, a jar of water, a strip of tarp. Beat. Survival here is not heroic, but provisional. A daily negotiation with hunger, cold, and fear. And yet, with every bleak mile, the boy's questions about birds, about goodness, about God, pry open possibilities that the scorched earth seems intent on smothering. The father and son bond, their relationship is the beating heart of the story, a counterpoint of tenderness against unrelenting dread. Beat. The father has only one mission: keep the boy alive. He inventories each crumb of food, each bullet, with obsessive care. Beat. Yet the boy becomes the guardian of something even more precious. Moral, emphasis, compass. He insists on sharing food with strangers, on refusing to abandon hope. Beat. Through whispered conversations by dying campfires, the boy asks if they are still the good guys. The father answers, again and again, "Yes, we carry the fire." Beat. That phrase, quiet yet defiant, becomes the novel's spiritual refrain. It distills their pact. Survival is meaningless unless joined to a human spark of kindness. Beat. The father's love is fierce, sometimes brutal. He teaches the boy how to use a pistol for suicide should capture become inevitable. Beat. He lies awake nights, coughing blood, rehearsing contingency plans. Beat. But every harsh lesson is balanced by moments of gentleness. A can of Coca-Cola salvaged from a smashed vending machine, presented like treasure. A stop at the ocean so the boy can see something larger than the wasteland. Beat. McCarthy shows us that in extreme circumstances, love simplifies to its purest form, protection at any cost, while still opening space for wonder. Beat. Even as the father's health deteriorates, his conversations with the boy display flashes of humor and teaching. He quizzes him on map reading, invents stories about the past, and listens when the child speaks to the invisible. All gestures reminding us that parenting is an act of faith in a future that might never arrive. Encounters with darkness. Beat. No post-apocalyptic journey would be complete without adversaries, and on this road, The living can be more terrifying than the dead. Beat. Marauding gangs prowl the highways, their trucks outfitted with human trophies. Beat. Cannibals stalk the ruins, turning basements into larders of unspeakable horror. Beat. One unforgettable scene unveils an underground room where prisoners are kept alive for harvest. Beat. Here, the father's instincts veer towards savage pragmatism. He will kill to protect the boy. He will run if killing fails, and he will end both their lives rather than let them be captured. Beat. This section confronts listeners with the abyss of human degradation, how quickly social contracts dissolve when scarcity reigns. Beat. Yet McCarthy refrains from sensationalism. Each horrific detail is delivered in measured, almost forensic prose, giving the reader space to contemplate rather than recoil. Beat. The boy, however, reacts with horror and compassion, begging his father to help where help seems futile. Beat. In one tense episode, they encounter a lone thief who steals their supplies. The father captures him, strips him, leaves him to die. Beat. The boy weeps, pleading for mercy, reminding us that amid brutality, the possibility of grace persists. Beat. These encounters sharpen the moral hinge of the novel. What does it mean to remain good when goodness is impractical? Beat. The contrast between the father's grim realism and the boy's innate empathy illuminates that question. Beat. Moreover, each confrontation propels the narrative tension and underscores McCarthy's warning that the apocalypse is as much psychological as physical. Beat. Civilization's collapse is not only charred landscapes, but a collapse of shared meaning. Beat. Preserving even a shard of decency becomes an act of rebellion against entropy, an assertion of emphasis humanity that the ashes cannot entirely bury. Flickers of hope. Beat. For all its bleakness, the road is woven with moments where the grey horizon brightens, if only for an instant. Beat. A bunker filled with preserved food offers the pair a fleeting taste of safety. They eat peaches by candlelight. They bathe. They sleep without fear. Beat. The boy's laughter in that shelter sounds almost alien within such silence, reminding us how joy can feel revolutionary after prolonged despair. Beat. Later, they discover a trout-filled stream, an impossible miracle in a dead ecosystem. The father teaches the boy how to fish, a lesson that feels like a gift of the old world. Beat. These interludes are McCarthy's acknowledgement that endings are rarely absolute. Life seeks cracks to grow through. Beat. The boy's very existence is itself a seed of possibility, and the father's stories about carrying the fire morph into a creed the child adopts. Beat. In the novel's final pages, the father succumbs to illness, his last breath a whisper urging the boy to keep going. Beat. Grief could flatten the child, yet the fire inside him steadies. Beat. He meets a new family, a man, woman, and 2 children, who promise protection. Their presence is not mere coincidence. It is the narrative's final assertion that community can re-emerge from chaos. Beat. The closing lines evoke images of brook trout in streams, their backs patterned with shapes like maps, an elegy for the natural world and a prayer for its renewal. Beat. Hope in the road is quiet, fragile, never guaranteed, but it persists like an ember sheltered in cupped hands, waiting for the wind to die down. Beat. That ember, McCarthy suggests, is belief in connection, in story, in the stubborn bloom of the emphasis. Future.